Your transition is not about gender. Well, okay, yes, it is about gender, but is that really the main point? Do you know what I mean? Like, at the very core of this process, is a transition really all about gender? Or is it possible that transitioning is just an outward, superficial manifestation of a much deeper process, which completely transcends something as trivial as clothes and pronouns and roles? Well, if you ask me, I would say that no, gender is not the main point. And in this conversation, I'm going to give you two processes which are happening underneath your transition, and in my opinion, are going to be far more valuable to you than simply gender. So, for number one, we've got authentic creative expression, or in other words, learning how to live, love, and express as yourself. So, this is a non specific, universal, primal process which is working on you and is inspiring you to move towards a more authentic and truthful way of life. And whether you recognize it or not, this process of self discovery, which is operating underneath the surface, is the mechanism which is giving rise to your gender related decisions. So, while yes, the decisions themselves are manifesting in the form of gender, still the underlying process, which is inspiring those actions, actually has nothing to do with gender. Because this is simply you discovering what it means to be truthfully you, right? So, when you go to make that decision to explore gender or to transition, really all you're doing is recognizing that the version of gender which has been presented to you by your family and by society, you're recognizing, oh, this isn't for me. And then in response to being shown something that is not you, like, okay, well, I'm going to explore and I'm going to find the things that feel like me. But in this scenario, gender is not the headline. Self-discovery is, right? So this is authentic creative expression. And it just so happens that for you, in your personal situation, that the process of self-discovery is leading you directly through gender. So really a transition is more like a vehicle which you are using to go deeper into yourself. And even though it seems like your entire world is revolving around gender, and that the main point of this thing is roles and clothes and pronouns, it's not. Because, like I said, the real path that you're walking, which has been it's just been disguised as gender, it actually is all about discovering what it is to live and to love and to express in a way that is truthfully you. And the reason that it's such an important distinction to make of recognizing that gender is a vehicle for self-realization is because if you're able to just see that, then all of a sudden you can just like back off the thing. And you don't have to hold on so tightly to your transition or to your exploration. You can loosen your grip on the specifics of that exploration. And instead of hyper focusing on things and obsessing like with the progress and needing to polish your presentation, and instead you can just zoom out and you can connect to the deeper process or the things that are making you feel more fully you. So this actually leads us to the second process, which is happening underneath your transition. And that is walking towards wholeness. So underneath the decision to explore gender, what's really happening is that we are acting on a desire to feel whole and to feel complete. Or in other words, we explore gender in order to gain access to all of ourselves. And what we want, even more than gender congruence and social acceptance, is to feel a sense of embodied, integrated togetherness, which is a quality that is related to authentic creative expression, but it has a slightly different connotation. Because instead of letting go of the things that are keeping you from being you, which is what we talked about in the previous section, in the context of wholeness, you are saying yes to all of yourself. And you are learning how to tenderly embrace all of these scary and dark and weird and seemingly unnatural parts of yourself. Or in other words, you are living your life from an open-hearted orientation, which is kind and gentle and supportive of all of yourself. And instead of pushing parts of yourself away and denying who you are, instead you are calling those parts closer and you're shining the light of acceptance on them. And you're teaching yourself what it feels like to be unconditionally loved. And the key to all this is, of course, self-compassion, which is your capacity to hold your pain and to love your darkness and to embrace your trauma. And the reason that I'm suggesting that your transition is all about walking the path of wholeness and self-compassion is because when you transition, you are quite literally saying yes to who you are. And you are inviting all of the gender-related parts of yourself back into the light. And instead of denying your truth or hiding who you are, you're bringing your truth closer to you. And you are reaffirming your love for yourself by creating a warm, compassionate, supportive space that is accepting of just everything that you are. So when you say yes to a transition, really you are saying yes to yourself. And you're giving yourself that permission to just be who you are, which, like I said, is an act of self-compassion, which arises out of a desire to feel whole. And even though that decision is taking the form of gender, still underneath the surface of that is a great love for yourself and a recognition that it's okay to be who you are and that there is enough room in this world for you and that you don't have to hide the unique, non-traditional parts of yourself. And the reason that this is so important to realize is because when you become aware of and connected to your love for yourself and your sincere desire to feel whole, it creates an entirely different atmosphere for your gender exploration. And it helps to connect you to what this journey is really all about. Loving yourself and trusting yourself and holding yourself. And if you can stay grounded in this understanding that what you are doing is an act of incredible love, then really you can accomplish anything and you can stay true to yourself in even the most challenging situations. And if you want to learn more about what it takes to have a successful gender exploration, then you should watch this video and I'll share with you the 3 most important virtues that you need to focus on in order to make the most of this path. All right, my friend, that's all I've got. I'll see you in the next one.